Welcome this week, heroes. This week on the podcast, we're going to be keeping it positive. Why? Because I want to, and it's my podcast, and so I get to do whatever I want, so there. But specifically, we're going to do this because I have just been hearing so much negative talk, especially on social media, especially when we're listening to TV programs, things like that, about how hard it is to be an entrepreneur, that it's such a grind. The word grind gets used a lot. And that there's so many hours that you have to work, and people just don't understand that the amount of effort and time goes into it. And you know what? Yeah, sure, that's true. It can be hard sometimes to be an entrepreneur. There are times when you are going to work past when your friends that work in corporate America got done at 5 or 5:30 and they can turn off their brain for the day, that you're still scrambling to get a statement of work in to a client to try and get a gig. There's going to be times when you still need to do invoicing because you didn't get to it by the end of the day. There are going to be times when you want to meet with your team, or you promised your team you would get them something if you're a leader and you didn't get it done during the day because something happened, and so you're going to do it now. Those things are absolutely true. But there is absolutely another side to this coin that I feel like we don't talk about enough. And it's all of the amazing things that you get to take advantage of when you are an entrepreneur. And for those of you that already are business owners, already are leading that life, you may know some of these things already, but I'm going to remind you of them. Because of the fact that it can be so hard sometimes, I want to remind you of the things that you are experiencing now that you didn't used to experience when you worked for other people, or other people controlled your schedule, especially in a corporate sense if you worked in corporate America, whether you were consultants or whether you were working for another company, whatever you were doing. And also, if you are one of the people that are thinking about, I'm seeing all these people, these thousands and thousands of people that are getting laid off at Meta and at Microsoft and at SAP and at, just name a tech company, and people are being laid off in waves. And it probably will continue, is what we can see right now as far as the economy is going. That there is really no such thing as having job security. It's an illusion. You have just as much job security as an entrepreneur. In fact, I would say more so because you have more control than you have in the corporate environment. We like to believe that lie, right? That it's more secure to work for an established company. But you're an at-will employee, at least if you live in the US. You have some more protections if you live abroad in Europe. And there are some, differences that go on there. But for the most part, you're absolutely an at-will employee. And that security is just a lie that we've all agreed to tell each other. That's it. So if we're talking about being an entrepreneur and you're thinking about, hey, I'm starting to see that this illusion, this gauziness of job security, quote unquote, is just that. It's an illusion. And you're thinking about starting your own side hustle, or you already have a side hustle and you're thinking, all right, maybe it's time to pour some gasoline on this and really light the bonfires here because of the fact that I just see which way the wind is blowing. Or you might just be tired of the fact that other people are controlling your time and how you spend it. These are all great reasons to be an entrepreneur. Now, I want to go over why you might want to consider, like I said, becoming an entrepreneur if you're not already. And if you are an entrepreneur, hey, guys, I want to remind you of how awesome it is sometimes as well, so that you can maybe feel a little bit smart and start to look with some fresh eyes at the things that you enjoy on a daily or a weekly basis. Here's some things that I absolutely love, and I'm just going to go down the list. And for some of you, I would love to hear back as well. What are some things that you love that I haven't mentioned at the end of this as well? Because I'm sure I've left some out. These are just ones that I particularly love and that I think will resonate with a lot of other people that are in a similar situation as me. So here are some things that are true on the other side of the coin if you're a business leader or an entrepreneur running your own business, okay? So my calendar is mine. That's one of the things I love the most. People cannot put things on it that I do not want on it. I do not feel obligated to accept meeting requests that I do not want to go to. All of it is within my control. And to an extent, It was probably a lot more in my control when I was a consultant than I gave myself credit for. But it always felt like if a client or someone wanted to put something on my calendar, even if it was last minute or it conflicted with something else in my personal life, an event for my children or just my daily workout routine, this is very important to me, that I would go ahead and I would do it. I would do it because I thought they were more important than me and my needs. And I don't do that anymore. My calendar is my calendar. I set it up for my week exactly the way that I want. If I want to change it, I do. If I don't, people can't put things on there that I don't want on there. And that feels amazing to be in control of your own destiny that way. It's absolutely something that I would never give up again, ever. So calendar, great thing. You are in control of how you spend and use your time, and you can use it effectively. So I also, one of the things I really love is, you're seeing this right now if you're watching this on YouTube, is I love my studio. My office is my dream office. This is the place that I always wanted to work. And I built it in my backyard at my house. I had a company come out and build a custom office for me. It is exactly the way that I want it. It has all of the decorations that I want, all the plants, all the lights, the cameras, the microphones, the desk that I always wanted. Everything is just the way that I want it. I don't have to put in a requisition request to the company I work for and hope that they might be willing to give me a mouse pad or the keyboard that I want to use, or convince them that the things that I find valuable for my productivity, my workflow, and serving my clients at a high level should be a priority. I just get to make the decision. How amazing is that? If even 8 years ago, 9 years ago, you had told me that I was going to be able to do that I got to pick exactly the environment I wanted to work in, and that my commute would be literally walking down to my house that's 15 paces from where I'm working right now, that I can go visit my wife anytime that I want, visit my kids, that I can go for a walk, that I can walk to a local restaurant, that I can do all of those things and not have my commute anymore. Oh my gosh. I would have been past Aaron would have been so excited to hear that that's a reality for me now. And for so many of us entrepreneurs, that's something that we get to start to control. The environment that we work in and that we thrive in best. We don't have to just put up with whatever we're given. And for human beings, that's a really, really big thing, because we're all a little bit different, right? The way that I work and the way that I'm productive, probably very different than the way a lot of you like to work and be productive. Some of you might love working in coffee shops. Some of you might like working from the beach. You might like working from traveling constantly. Depends on what you want for your lifestyle and what you want to do. But you get to control that, and it's a wonderful thing. So don't forget about how great it is to have that control. Also, number 3, naps with my dog. This is not to be underestimated. This morning, I got back from taking my kids to school and having that great experience, and then being on my own timeline. And I went and did a new workout. I started a new workout routine. It's a new bodybuilding plan that's going to be 12 weeks long. And it was day 1, and I was super excited to do it. And I got to go to my bodybuilding gym and knock it out. And it felt great, but it was a lot. It was a lot. It was very tiring, the way that I wanted it to be. Everything went according to plan. But when I got home, I was like, all right, I'm having my protein shake right now. And you know what my body really wants right now? It wants to take a nap. And rest and recovery is really important to me and for my goals and for my bodybuilding goals. And so my wife turned to me and she said, why don't you? I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't need to. The next thing that's on my list is I set aside a time block every Monday to record the podcast. And that doesn't happen until 1. And I have 2.5 hours until that happens. I don't need to invent something to work on right now. There's nothing on my schedule. I can decide guilt-free to go take a nap right now. And so I did. And it was amazing. And my dog came with me, and I got the best dog cuddles while I had a nap. So you might not have heard before that one of the great things about being an entrepreneur is dog cuddle naps. But I'm telling you right now, it actually is. It's a thing. I've made it a thing if it wasn't already. And I encourage you to either A, get a dog so that you can do this yourself, or B, become an entrepreneur, or do both, because you might need both. If you're a cat person, totally understand. Everybody gets to make their own choice. Okay. Now, the next thing that I would like to talk about is vacationing when I want. Not when The bank of hours allows me to, like it used to be when I worked for other people and other corporations or as a consultant. When I needed to get permission and see if anybody else was taking a vacation, and if they had more seniority, they got first pick over me. And those dates are already blacked out because we have a launch that day. Like all of that bullshit that kept me from vacationing with my family or going on my own on my own personal vacation, which I do as well. I don't have to do that anymore. I decide when I want to rest, when I want to rejuvenate, when I want to recharge the batteries so that I can be my best self for my family and for my work and for what I do. Nobody gets to dictate that anymore. If I want to be a working vacation, I can do it, and I don't need to be mad about it. Have you ever done that? If you're in a situation where you work for a company right now and you're technically on vacation, but you brought your laptop because you're afraid that they're probably going to want to contact you, or your phone, and you keep checking your email, but every time you check it, you're mad. You're mad because people have the audacity, team members that still know, or your boss, your manager that knows you're on vacation, they're still like emailing you and asking you to do things. Hey, can you do this real quick? Can you do this? And it makes you mad, but you feel like you have to do it. And so many people do that, especially Americans. Okay. And I don't have to do that now. If I want to work, I do, and I get to feel good about it. And if I don't want to work, I don't. And when I'm on vacation, I get to make that choice. And it feels really clean and really nice. And I would invite any of you that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur to experience that for yourself. It's pretty amazing. And if you're already an entrepreneur, come on. This is something that we get to enjoy. We get to control how we rest and how we show up. It's the best. All right, on with the list of things that are pretty amazing about being an entrepreneur. So collaborating with who I want. This is huge. So a lot of times when you're assigned a work project and you work for somebody else, you don't get to choose who you work with. You don't get to choose who's on your team. And we all had that team project that we had to do in elementary or high school, where there was the people that did the work, and then there were the people that did the minimum and claimed the credit. And we knew that if we wanted to get a good grade, all of us high performers that wanted the good grade, we knew that if we wanted the good grade, we just had to take up the slack. And that happens all the time when you're working for somebody else as well, and when you have to be assigned someone that you're working with on a project. It's not fair, but it's a reality. Whereas as a contrast, as an entrepreneur, I get to choose exactly who I work with. I get to choose my clients, and they're amazing. I get to fire them if they turn out to not be amazing. I just decide not to work with them again. It's so great. And if I want to work with another entrepreneur, if I want to start a program with another coach, if I want to expose my clients to something that another coach coaches on so that they can upskill in that area, if I want to collaborate with another production firm, if I want to include someone else that does something that I don't do and offer it to my clients as a white label, I can start conversations with whoever I want. It's so great. My business can go in whatever direction that I want, and I don't have to get permission from anyone. And it's so fun to think of scenarios where I get to help another business make money, and my business makes money too, and my clients are getting served at a higher level. How amazing is that? And you get to have the control to do that. And you get to choose it, to do it whenever you want. So collaborating with who you want is a really, really big one for me. Now, here along those lines, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit already, is I get to stop working on things that are not effective. So how many of you have ever worked in a job before where you were assigned a project and you absolutely knew from the very beginning that it was absolutely a waste of time? This marketing campaign, if you're a marketer, this marketing campaign that this person in the C-suite wanted to do because they heard that some other company did it and they want to do it here too. And so they're asking you to do it. And you're like, that is not going to work for us. But you have to do it because someone higher up than you told you that you have to do it. And you knew when it started that it was going to be a failure. And then you're going to have to do it. And then when it fails, they're going to blame you for it failing. Oh my gosh. It's the worst, right? Anyone that's in marketing or in sales knows exactly what I'm talking about right now. And now I don't have to do that. If I think I have a brilliant idea of a marketing campaign or a coaching program or a offering for our clients, some animated videos at a certain price point that have a certain style of animation, and I think it's going to do really well, and it turns out that 2 months into it, it's not selling, or it's just not as effective as I thought it was going to be, guess what I get to do? Stop. I get to just stop. I get to just choose to try something new that might be more effective. I get to measure in the moment, weigh the pros and cons, and make the choice. That's pretty amazing, because anyone that has worked in larger companies also knows that there's a lot of waste that happens. Projects get started and then they just kind of spin out of control and they're not effective and no one wants to shut it down because it was someone's pet project. And maybe that person isn't even there anymore, but it's just is still going for some reason and nobody says anything. You don't have to do that as an entrepreneur. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. The next thing that I would say is, this is a little crass for some of you, but I love it, is I get to keep all the money. I mean, other than what we give for taxes, because nobody gets out of that, no matter what kind of business you run. But I get to keep all the money. When I price something, I can look at the pricing model and see exactly where every dollar is going. And I can make it so it's the most effective price for my clients and the most lucrative aspects for me as well and my team, and build in the right time for it to get completed well. And I get to keep the money and decide who gets paid well. I love that too. Oh my gosh. The moment as a leader owning your own company that you get to decide your team is going to be paid really, really well. Oh my gosh. Receiving checks is great. Somebody told me this at one point and I completely embrace it. Receiving checks is great. Writing them is even better when you're writing them to team members that deserve it. I love paying my editors and my DPs and my PAs and people that do business development for me and my graphic designers. I love paying them more than any of their other people do. Whether they are working freelance for us as 1099s or whether they're employees, I absolutely love surprising and delighting them with how much more we're going to pay them than anyone else is going to. Way above market value as far as what they would go see on Glassdoor or anything like that. And guess what? When people feel valued and they're paid well and on time, they work really hard for you and they do a really great job for your clients. When you take care of your people, you all know this, you take care of your people, they take care of your clients. And it is so fun to be the leader and be the entrepreneur that you always wished that you had when you worked for a company. To not feel undervalued, to feel like the management is actually ahead of you on making sure that you're advancing and making sure that you're compensated well. We can be that change if we are in control, if you are the entrepreneur, if you are the leader. It's really amazing. And I would really encourage all of you to try it because it just feels so darn good. It really, really does. Now, the next thing I would say is you get to say no. You get to say no. Whenever there is a client that's asking for something that's unreasonable, you can just say no. You know, I say it in a tactful way, but I just say, you know what? That's not something we have the bandwidth to take on right now. It is what it is. You are the final word on that. Somebody wants to get on my calendar at the last minute or have a call real quick that you can tell is going to be something at 5 p.m. that's going to be a red hot mess and you don't want to touch it. You can just say no. Nope. Absolutely not. And guess what? The only repercussion is like maybe that client isn't your client anymore. And if they were asking you to do that kind of stuff that was pushing you outside of where you want your boundaries to be, then you probably didn't want them as a client anyway. And that one takes a little while to get there as an entrepreneur because at first, you know, you might be in scrappy mode and feeling a little bit of scarcity. But once you get a little further down the line and you realize that you can control your abundance, especially when our clients are working with us and we're setting things up and the way that they want their business to run and their ideal clients and all that stuff, it's amazing when that light bulb moment happens for them. And they realize that they are completely in control of that and they don't get to be bossed around by things they don't want in their life anymore. It's pretty great. Now, conversely to that, what's great about saying no is also I get to control when I say yes. If somebody has a crazy idea on my team of something they think that would be effective or a new offering, I don't shut them down. I say, hey, let's test it. Let's see if it's going to work. Let's try it out. If we have some time and some budget to try it out, let's pick a client and offer it to them and see if they go for it. And then let's see if it's effective and measure it and then move forward. You get to give that agency to other people. You get to say yes. You get to choose to say yes. If you want to try out something different for your business, you get to say yes and try it out for a while. And if it gets to the point, like I said, that it's obvious it's not going to work out and it's not the best investment of time or money, then you can change your mind to no. But you get to change your mind. I guess that's really part of it as well, right? That when you have the power to say yes or no, truly, you get to own that power as the leader of your business and as an entrepreneur. You get to decide and you can change your mind. If you thought one thing was going to work, or conversely, if you thought something wasn't going to work and somebody proves you wrong, you can take your ego out of it and just move forward. It's a pretty fantastic position to be in, and one that doesn't happen very often when you are in a formal, calcified structure where you don't get to make those decisions. So the last one that I would talk about as well, and some of you might be listening right now and going like, okay, I'm not an entrepreneur right now, Aaron. It's really unfair that you're making this sound so good. It makes me want to become an entrepreneur, and I'm not sure if I can do it right now. You can. You absolutely can. And we actually have a coaching program that we just launched that you can see on our website where we help you with that. Where you can click on work with us and you can see that we have storied entrepreneurs and you can actually get coaching from us to help you do it. So all this stuff is possible for you. So I don't want anyone listening to this list to think, oh, it must be nice. I could never do that. Oh my gosh, you 100% can. Because if I can do it, anybody can. I'm a guy over here with a theater degree. I'm over here without a formal business education. I just decided I wanted to open these businesses and do these things. And I hit my head a lot when I did it. And we can help people hopefully not hit their head as often as I did. I have the bruises to prove it, okay? A little bit of a lumpy head from all the times that I hit my head when I was trying things out. But there are ways to be able to help you move around those things. That's why having a good coach is worth its weight in gold. That's why I have coaches as well. Now, I'd say my favorite last thing is it's connected to the calendar, but it's a little bit different. But it is about owning my time. It's about how much I love the structure that I've made for my life. And that at first it seemed like I was getting away with something. That like at some point the police were going to come to my house and say, nice try, Aaron, but you don't get to just make your own schedule every day and decide when you work and don't work. And you definitely don't get to decide when your workday starts and when it pauses. And sometimes it still really feels like that. It feels like at some point someone's going to come and go, nice try, Aaron. You don't get to have this much fun. But I do. Every morning, I get to get up, I get to have my coffee, I get to outline what I'm grateful for and start my day. And then I get to get my teenager up. Sometimes a little bit grumpy, a little touch and go, but I get to sit with him at the breakfast table and not be rushed. To know that I didn't have a call that I scheduled during that time or that someone scheduled for me because they are in Europe or something like that. With some of the jobs I used to have as a consultant, I don't need to hurry him out the door or balance those things. I can just intentionally spend time with him, make him successful for his day, talk with him, and I can walk him to school or drive him to school, drop him off, go and do my workout because that's what I prefer to do before I start talking to clients. That I get to have comic store walks with my kids. When they get home from school, I can just stop what I'm doing and I can just go for a walk with them, the 20-minute walk it is, to the comic book store, pick out some titles, and then walk home and talk about which ones we're going to read and why we like them. I get to make time for all of this stuff now, where before it felt like I was just squeezing it in where I could. And I was so resentful that I didn't have the control to do the things that I wanted to do with the people that I loved the most. And that I knew these moments were fleeting. I can't believe I already have a 14-year-old. and an 11-year-old as of this weekend. And I know it's going to be over before I know it. And I'm so glad that I made the shift to being my own boss before they were out of the house, so that I can control how much time I spend with them. And it's what I wish for anyone that's a parent. And it's what I wish for anyone, however you decide to spend your time, is that you get to intentionally choose how you do it. Because we only have one life, as far as I know right now. If reincarnation is a thing, I am all for it. But I'm kind of hedging my bets right now to try and make the most out of this life that I can. And so all of you that are listening right now, if you are an entrepreneur, I just wanted you to have that reminder that there's lots of these little things on the other side of the coin that are amazing and that are pretty fantastic trade-offs for some of the crazy work we do sometimes and some of the risky things that we need to do in order to keep our businesses afloat, as far as, working and figuring it out and figuring out how things are going to work, and cash flow and invoicing and working with clients and finding new clients and sales and marketing. Yeah, it can be a lot. But man, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so, so grateful that I get to enjoy all of these things that are so profoundly fantastic that you get to do when you are an entrepreneur. And so much of it, as you've listened to, has to do with controlling your time and your intention about how you spend it. So if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I just obviously can't encourage you enough to dip your toe in. You don't have to quit your job today. You could start to work with a coach like us and start working with someone that has you map out your process, that has you start to write a blueprint for the story you want to step into, so that you can intentionally move from one part of your career to the next and do it in a way that minimizes the risk for you and your family, or for you and your savings, or for you and whatever you want to do. So there's ways to go about this that aren't jumping with both feet. You know what? I love the people that want to jump in with both feet. I love it. I'm there as well. But for the people that want to dip a toe in first, that want to find out a way to do it in a logical, slower manner, that's absolutely something that you can do as well. And I want you to know that you can do that. No matter how scary it might seem, it's absolutely within you. And you can take that hero's journey and you can do it. We've helped people do it. I know that you can do it as well. And I know that passionately because I did it. And there were so many times that I thought, I don't know, maybe I can't. Turns out you can if you decide to. All right, my friends, thanks for listening this week. I hope I didn't make anybody jealous that isn't an entrepreneur. But if you're thinking about it, give us a call. Happy to help.